Hello and welcome to everyone. Um, Thank you to everyone who's joining us for our AI Manufacturing Forum. I'd also like to thank our panelists for agreeing to join us and talk about this topic. This is a topic that I've wanted to tackle for a little while now, so I'm really pleased to be able to host this today. We're aiming today to speak about how AI is utilised on the production line and how it supports engineering and manufacturing. We're aiming not to discuss about the creative side of AI on design, clerical, or chat GTP, or how it could be used to create a really good email. We hope to demystify some of the misconceptions, misinformation, and technical jargon surrounding this topic. Today, we aim to explore how AI can drive automation by revolutionizing manufacturing, by enhancing efficiency, sustainability, digitalization, and productivity. We have a great lineup from product suppliers, end users, and universities to talk about AI in manufacturing. But just quickly, a little about the format. This is a recording from the forum, and if you have any questions, please post in the chat and we will get the panel to respond to them. If you have any colleagues that you feel should listen to this at a later date, we will be posting a rewind of the forum, and we'll aim to post the answers of your questions alongside it. You should see this on our socials, and we will post it, of course, on the Automate UK website. So now let's get started with a brief introduction from the speakers. Today we have Samuel Asif from Cranfield Uni, we have Yanni Alessandros from Brickvik Colesberg, and we have Paul Pearce from Rockwell Automation. So let's start with Samuel. Could you give a quick introduction to yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Dr. Simil Asif, and I'm working as senior lecturer in artificial intelligence and robotics, and I'm with Cranfield from last 15 years. And I've been working mainly on the control, on the robotics, industrial robotics, and including some of the mobile robotics work as well as the UAVs. But main of my work is around the industrial robotics and the applications around the assembly, system installation, and basically applications of artificial intelligence or machine learning on top of it, to make the robot a bit intelligent over there as well. I have worked on various types of end effectors so far as well, and a couple of my research at the moment looking into how we can make the flexible large scale and then also the small scale rigid or non-rigid grippers as well. And thank you for having me on board.
Oh, no, you're welcome. No, you're welcome. And Yanni, over to yourself.
Oh, thank you very much. My name's Yanni. I'm currently the proposition lead at Carlsberg Brevik, formerly Brevik Soft Drinks. And essentially, I focus on two different things. First of all, I focused on decentralized manufacturing with the help of digital innovations, and essentially digital dispense is what we call it. But also, I work in creating circular economies for our waste products and essentially creating collaborations with like-minded organizations to essentially provide value from our waste, using a lot of, I would say, digitization and advanced AI agents that we're going to definitely talk about in a bit. Before that, I've always worked in the intersection of chemical engineering, process development, and data science. I hold a PhD in bioprocessing from Cranfield University. I also have masters in advanced engineering design and another MSc in energy, and a bachelor's with honors in mechanical engineering. So I'm an engineer at heart. I essentially grew up in factories, so I do have a very hands-on approach. And throughout my career, I have tried to make small-scale manufacturing scalable and smarter. I have applied it in industrial manufacturing. I have applied it in automotive. I've applied it in health and wellness, in vaccines during COVID. I've applied it for academia, but also industry as a consultant. So I think I've got a very good angle into this field. So it's a very exciting time. So I'm very happy to be able to talk to you guys about
it. That's great. And then finally, Paul. Oh, Paul, your mic is not working. No, no, nothing. What I might do is we might come back to you, Paul, for a quick introduction. And if we start with Samal with the first question when I ask it, and then Paul, if you suddenly start making noise, brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we'll pick you up in a little while, even if you need to log off and come back in again. Okay. So let's start straight in, Samal. The first question we have is, what do you feel that AI on the shop floor really means? What is it? What is it to production?
Yeah, for the production line, I believe that AI can be very helpful because we can, you can say there are a lot of essential aspects of AI that can directly contribute to the not only to the efficiency but also accuracy and adaptability, and also predictive capability as well. So one of them, when which we use quite a lot, is the computer vision. So it's basically we are enabling the real time quality inspection, object detection, verification of various types of, I mean, speaking from my background and also from my experience, is the assembly verification to the type of things that we can do. It can help detect the defects, predict them, misalignments or missing components with a lot of accuracy and consistency as compared to the if we are directly comparing it to the human inspector. So for the another thing that we can do with the artificial intelligence, or you can say machine learning, which is a sub branch of artificial intelligence itself, is the predictive maintenance, where we can, and that's a project that we are currently doing as well, in which we can basically learn from the sensors data, from various sensors data. You can understand it from the vibration, from the temperature, from the current, etc., from the perception as well, to anticipate any failures. You can minimize any unplanned downtime that extends basically the life of the asset by triggering the maintenance only when it is necessary. The other thing that we can do that can be helpful for the, I mean, on the production line could be the autonomous robots and adaptive control, which is we are seeing quite a lot, and it's been implemented in the industry itself as well. So it's like AI-driven robots that adapt to changes in the environment or production variations without pre-programming, and especially useful in the collaborative robots like bin picking or path planning in dynamic settings, sort of those type of things. It can also be helpful for the anomaly detection or process monitoring as well. So data that we are collecting, it is quite helpful to process it, and understand what are the trends, how the strategies can be developed around it. So not only directly relating with the machine, but also it can be related to the data itself as well, which we are collecting, and how it can be useful for the factory shop floor. It can also be useful for maybe not very useful in the noisy environment, but can be useful in a controlled environment in which we can use, say, for example, natural language interfacing for the HMI. So it's like voice or text-based AI that can assist the operators when they are queuing the production status, diagnostic or training instructions, train them as well, and it can basically reduce the cognitive load and training time as well.
Cool. No, that's great. Paul, can we hear you now?
So,
I think so. Yeah, just about. So before we come back to you, let's Yanni just answer this question. So again, Yanni, what does AI mean on the shop floor to yourself?
Yeah, and I think, Samuel did a very good, introduction into this, and I think, I agree with all of this. Now, I'm going to I don't want to be repetitive because you covered everything, but I want to take a step. I would say let's take a step higher up in the hierarchy and overseeing the whole operation. I would say that AI is not just about automation; it's about essentially autonomy with intent. So what we're looking at, we're not looking as AI to be able to optimize, process, and predict. We're looking at AI to be able to orchestrate and link manufacturing processes upstream and downstream of what we're currently focusing on. It would be great to have agentic AI, not just create predictive algorithms, but actually continuously carry out the repetitive tasks that we would ask humans. That's one thing that can, to be honest, it's actually already here, but also to use AI to actually carry out pattern recognition, to link, for example, ERP and supply management planning all the way to downstream, selling off to commercial entities. And this is something that we as FMCG, we don't really have we don't have a niche market. We mass manufacture and sell. So having that link is critical, and having that ability to actually generate that data in real time and linking it back into ERP is massive. So for me, that's where AI has critical value. Obviously excellent in optimizing, refining, supporting ESG as well, focusing on energy optimization throughout the different manufacturing lines is critical, but actually taking that step higher up and looking at the picture as a whole and looking at manufacturing as one continuous line and not being fragmented, I think is the critical space where AI will really shine in the future.
Yeah, no, thank you, Annie. That sounds great. So, Paul, could you give yourselves a quick introduction, and then what does AI on the shop floor mean to you?
Yeah. I'm Paul Pierce. I'm a solutions consultant with Rockwell Automation. I focus on supporting OEMs and end users adopt edge to cloud strategies to help to kind of streamline those processes, to really help to transform the data that they have. We know one of the challenges of AI, we'll probably get onto, is about structuring data and making that data more useful in contextualization. So that's what I spend a lot of my time working on with customers and OEMs to help them support that process. I've worked in manufacturing for 25 years. Haven't always been on the solutions consultant side. I've spent many years supporting lines at 3 o'clock in the morning as well. So I understand the realities of a machine getting shipped somewhere and having to support that machine long into its useful life. So I mean, and it's with that angle, I guess, that I take my approach to AI, and one of the holy grails of AI, really in the manufacturing environment is to help to enable, much as Yanni was saying, is that supportive capacity. So to be able to move from kind of prediction and predictive analytics is one thing, but to be able to move to prescriptive, to be able to take an alarm or an event from a HMI or a SCADA system and not just say there is an error on something or an error code 114 on this drive, but actually being able to move towards being able to actually point people in the direction of how to address the problem, understanding, and in that case AI, as we call it, will have to understand the process, the documentation, the processes, the quality processes, and so on that support that manufacturing, to be able to help them address the resolution. And you need for that to have an understanding of the history of the operation, the history of all of those tweaks and fixes that a technician carried out at 4 o'clock in the morning, over many years of the use of the equipment. So to me, that's a really strong area for the future of AI manufacturing.
Yeah, no, great. Thank you, all of you. So let's stick with you, Paul. So AI is a very general term. I quite often say it's the Hoover of this world. Yeah, it's like, for me, it's like a trade name. I know it's not a trade name, but it's like a trade name to me. What elements in that field, in AI, do you think are vital to the production line? What's under the hood of AI that is actually really important?
Well, I suppose, in recent terms, AI has and LLMs have become LLMs have become the synonymous face of artificial intelligence. But before we had, LLMs, or at least the LLMs that we have today, machine learning was a big area not so many years ago. Really, it was forging ahead quite strongly for a while until LLMs kind of stole the focus. And to me, still, it's quite important to maybe sometimes differentiate machine learning at the core of some of the processes. Sometimes we tend to try to go too high, and we try to do all of this AI in the cloud, hope that it will automatically give us context or give us meaning behind some of the data, really focusing on some areas where machine learning itself can be used to help kind of optimize at the edge of the process, rather than waiting until that data, with all of the fidelity, the issues that go along with with AI and getting the data into a cloud, actually being able to use useful data in machine learning at the edge of the process. So for me, AI is great, like I described, with predictive analytics and prescriptive, more prescriptive. But this, to me, the machine learning is still a very, very useful part of the overall kind of AI area to be used in manufacturing.
No, thank you. So, Yanni, could you maybe lift the lid a little bit on AI? Oh,
In what aspect?
So it's the question is AI is a very high level term. Yeah. What are you actually seeing on the shop floor? What are you actually seeing in production? What's actually important to your operators?
Yeah. So I think exactly as I said a couple of minutes ago, what we see currently with AI, beyond just using it as a, I would say, some sort of intelligence with vision or sensor data processing, we are seeing the transformation of data. So we are using it to transform a lot of the data that is happening that is being generated within the business. And we're talking like, and this is where I think the complexity in AI, and I really like how Paul touched upon this, AI, ML. I think the first question that everyone has when we're talking about this is, let's define AI, let's define ML, let's define what's happening currently at the moment with agentic AI. And I think suddenly through these definitions, you actually understand, okay, this is what we were talking about, 20 years ago. Okay, this is what we were talking about in, the start of the early, 2010 and onwards. So for example, for me, AI and machine learning, the easiest machine learning model is a regression model. That's it, simple. Calibration line, that is a machine learning. So putting that in the same space as, an agentic AI or a chat GPT is actually quite contradictory. So I would say currently what we are seeing is, and especially with the investment that we've had as Britvic Ltd, the investment that we did in our factory specifically, again, I'm calling out our rugby factory and our Becton lines, we have invested quite a bit to optimize the processing, and through that we optimized essentially the data streams throughout the business. And we're using AI, we're using machine learning to basically visualize a lot of that data and bring people up to speed and connect multiple parts of the businesses. And that is, I would say, you can't really make it any more complex. That is currently, I think, one of the main, if you want to delve into AI, that is probably one of the best ways you can start, either as a small SME or a very large business.
Excellent. Thank you. And then finally, Samel.
So what I can pick it from there. I mean, when we are going through the evolution of AI through various eras, so we are starting from like symbolic AI, like rule-based systems from 1950s to 1980s, in which we had the limitation they were inflexible and poor performance in the complex or unstructured environments. And then we had the machine learning, in which the predictive maintenance or process optimization and the quality control became really good key applications in there. and then going into the deep learning era from 2012 onwards, given us very good vision-based inspections or autonomous robots, autonomous cars, speech recognition and fault diagnostics, those type of things. That became the foundation of LLMs, and that's where we are looking at the challenges are like high computational cost, explainability, there's a bias, hallucination, those are types of the issues, and like agentic AI, like Paul was mentioning, there are barriers, for example, like safety, alignment, real world reliability, and especially in the industrial settings. So there are what we can say inside the industry and how we can adopt, for example, the autonomous robots and the adaptive control, the AI driven robots that adapt to the change into their environment, or I mentioned that earlier as well, or product variations without reprogramming. They can be especially useful in various applications, and we can look into the intelligent scheduling, for example, or AI where we can apply onto the data, for example, intelligent scheduling or resource optimization, where we can use the algorithms to dynamically allocate the resources or shift the workloads and optimize the throughputs as well. So like in essence, the most valuable aspects of AI in production are those that turn data into actionable insight, and enhance the real-time adaptability and improve the consistency of operations without like human micromanagement. And that's where my perspective is the goal is not to replace the human, but to augment their capabilities and reduce the routine burdens, really.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, really good, really good points. So let's go to Yanni for this next one. And what do you see are the barriers to the take up of AI in the manufacturing environment? What are the real stoppers at the moment?
So
Have we got enough time?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say. So basically, I might be so I might have a nerve here, but I'm quite passionate about this one. So I think that there are three I see. So obviously, number one is cultural resistance. Data readiness is number two, and I think number three would be cost. It's quite a big factor. So let's go to data readiness. All it takes is for the audience to basically look into their own business and talk to some business unit that is adjacent to theirs and ask them what kind of data structures they have and what kind of processing tools or legacy software they use. The problem is, if you have different data structures and you have messy data or unstructured data or data that is not structured for a particular AI tool, it's as good as having any. So essentially, the biggest challenge there is your data readiness. Now, if we go over to cultural resistance, essentially, we're not talking about cultural resistance throughout different aspects of the business, such as, like, for example, in our business, legal might have their own software, procurement might have another AI tool, and manufacturing has a different one. Not that kind of resistance. We're talking about, multiple facets, and one of there was a study about in 2022, and I'm going to quote the study because I don't want anyone to call me out on it. So essentially, the National Bureau of Economic Research published a working paper titled Technology Adoption and the Age Distribution in the Workforce, and essentially it found that firms with an older workforce are significantly less likely to adopt new technologies, in particular AI and advanced IT, and this trend is driven by reduced willingness to invest in innovations with a long ROI horizons. So essentially what that means is if you're looking at your senior leadership and you're looking at an age group that is about 8 to 10 years from retirement, having such massive, placing such massive investment in something that is actually a step change is a big challenge. It's a big ask. So there is an issue. And essentially, when we're looking at big companies, those are essentially the drivers of these kind of technologies. And we're actually seeing this cultural resistance. And three is the cost of experimentation. Now, AI is not something you can dabble in. It's something you integrate and you change your behavior with it. You have to retrain people. You have to, I would say, unfortunately let people go, hire new people. You have to basically change the landscape of expertise throughout your business to actually implement this kind of AI. We're seeing currently a massive change of IT experts or IT specialists becoming OT specialists becoming data scientists becoming AI experts. Now, I think that in itself is a challenge, but essentially it's not something that can happen in the next 1-2 years. This needs a 5-year essentially strategy. And that is, I would say, that these are the 3 biggest challenges of adoption of AI. And again, those are certain optics. I would flip that on its back and say, you can start small. You don't need to, reinvent the world. You don't need to start with, one of the biggest problems that you have. Just simple integration in simple areas, agile and adaptive will help. But unfortunately, that's not the case. We always use AI as this magic robot, this magic tool, the magic genie that can solve things. So that's my take.
Yeah, no, thank you, Yanni. There's so many parallels with the adoption of automation and then like almost digital automation with AI, isn't there? There's so much we talk about that's in the uptake of robotics that is just exactly the same, isn't it? The same words, the same terms. So, Simal, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think Yanni has summed up really, really well. So there are a
Good.
couple of things. First of all, as Yanni mentioned as well, is the data availability and the quality. So like I will talk towards the bottom how we are facing those issues as well. So I like many factories, they lack the volume structure or the cleanliness of the data. I mean, they're collecting the data is there, but the structure is not there, cleanliness is not there, and that is basically required to train effective AI model. And within that, the legacy machines may not be connectable or connected or sensor enabled, and making data collection very, very difficult. That's another problem on top, or that's another barrier on top. I mean, AI offers really significant potential in manufacturing, but its adoption is basically often, you can say, hindered by those barriers or those limitations. Another problem is like integration with the legacy systems. So existing manufacturing systems, for example, if they are using PLCs, MES, they were not designed, etc. They were not designed to interface with the AI platforms. Retrofitting AI into those systems can require like costly. That will be quite costly to do the custom engineering and middleware solutions and those type of things. Again, Yanni has also hinted on that as well, like a skill gap in the workforce readiness. And that's where we are like often lack in-house expertise in AI and the data science or even advanced analytics as well. Operators and engineers also resist for the AI-driven changes if they're not properly trained or involved in the transition. You will see a huge shift from them and huge push from them. That is something they don't want to see. And another thing on top of that is the high initial investment that companies industry needs to do, and then keeping in mind that there is an ROI in uncertainty as well. So the return on investment can be unclear. That's something that needs to be kept in mind. So because developing and deploying AI solutions can be very costly upfront, but especially for SMEs or for some smaller companies for use case basis, they can't do it without quick bearing in mind that there are no quick wins. And these other things are like cybersecurity and data governance concerns as well. So for example, the AI systems, they often rely on the cloud connectivity and data sharing, depending on what type of system you are using, what type of HPCs or what type of infrastructure you are using. It raised concerns over IP protection and data security. So it comes with the cost when you want to protect these things, protect the data. And so the manufacturers may be reluctant to share sensitive operational data or expose critical infrastructure as well. So it depends. So everything doing in-house could be expensive, but if you take something to distribute the resources, that is something that could be something that will face reluctancy in doing that. And also like trust and transparency. So black box AI models, we heard that term quite a lot. It's basically they can be very difficult to trust what is happening within that box. So especially when they are in the safety critical applications or highly regulated environments. So they often require a lot of explainability, traceability, and robust validation before it's even been deployed. And last but not least is the cultural resistance.
Yeah, it's a big problem culture.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, with robotics and automation adoption as well, it's always, especially in the UK, we have culture issues. But thank you for that, Samal. And then Paul, I don't know how much you've got to add to that. Hopefully, a couple of gems.
I think it's been fairly comprehensively covered there, across the board. But I want to echo, data quality being a huge point, and especially for OEMs. So sometimes there's a couple of challenges for OEMs in that they don't tend to have access to the data after the machine has been shipped out to an end user. And then it comes up with the questions, if we were to invest in training a model for a particular issue, that's okay for making the same machine over and over and over again. But if you're a machine builder where it's not the same machine every time, are there unique processes or are there common processes that we could focus on? And will someone want to buy that? Will there be a value if I was to put that effort into generating, whether it be anomaly detection, anomaly identification, using machine learning to do some prediction on some parts of the process? Is that saleable as a product in the machine, or is it ultimately saleable as a service when we come to machine as a service, or being able to offer that kind of predictability of the machine performance and have predictive maintenance people from the OEM coming out to fix the machine just before it breaks down, because the data and the algorithm that they were using was able to predict that and have the right people on hand at the machine before the breakdown even happened. And so it's quite uncertain for a lot of OEMs in particular how that AI is going to be used. Is it going to be that long-term data that can have access to, and obviously universities and other institutions can help with kind of de-risking some of those issues. Using tools that give quicker time to value can also be helpful. That they don't need to have years and years and years of data, but then they will tend to take time, in production to learn and need to be tagged, so that anomaly detection becomes anomaly identification, so that it's set up to learn those types of rhythms that happen when certain events happen on the machine. So really, as Yanni started out with saying, it was really picking those common threads or those use cases to start out with, and starting out with good intention about the data and how it's structured and how it's recorded to be able to make use of it into the future.
Yeah. No, thanks, Paul. It really reminds me that back in the day when we were trying to do Industry 4 as well, there's so many commonalities with what you were saying there that how do machine builders actually market it, and then you get end users not wanting to pay the extra money for their machines, but they have to put it on. And so so very similar. So staying with yourself, Paul, the next question is something actually that Samal touched on. One of the big concerns that we hear with AI is privacy and cyber attack. How can this be mitigated? We talked about previously about private LLMs and public LLMs with private data. So maybe some information about those and how people can protect themselves and getting rid of that sort of like barrier.
Yeah, I mean, public LLMs and private LLMs is a big debate. It really comes down to the use case. Do I need an LLM with access to the World Wide Web as it is right now, to be able to scrape the internet and get all of the various bits of information? Typically in a manufacturing environment, not so much. So being able to leverage the power of the development behind some of those public LLMs, but being able to deploy them in a private LLM capacity, it definitely has some advantages to data security and data sovereignty. I guess being a very, very powerful kind of driver for a lot of people. But those LLMs themselves don't become useful until they're trained, and that's where other terminology starts to come into that deployment. Things like RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, to help to make more use of that data. So there are definitely cases where public LLMs are useful in terms of kind of maybe some of that data transformation that Yanni was talking about earlier. And then really once you start to productionize that data or that LLM or that AI or whatever it is that you're using, really in production stages, then that's where you might want to start looking at some of that kind of a private AI or private LLM instance.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yanni, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think Paul covered it very well. I'm not a data privacy and cybersecurity expert. I leave that to the OT people who are now moved on to AI training. But I would say that what we see between private LLMs and public LLMs is two, I think, big trends. One is, when in doubt, trust the big dogs, and that's why a lot of people do Microsoft Copilot, for example. And then there's a lot of companies that decide to get ahead of the game and generate something by themselves and create their own little private LLM. Now, the difference between public and private, and this is something that I was actually quite astounded about, was the difference between a public LLM is essentially, a very good analogy is you shouting your trade secrets across a crowded cafeteria versus you talking about them in a soundproof room with an expert legal support person. So it is quite big. So I would say that currently the legal and regulatory landscape is evolving. I would say standards and international standards are evolving. We do not know that a lot of these businesses are international. We are very, again, as Samil said about transparency and adaptivity in AI, we do not know specifically where a lot of the data, a lot of the servers and the data storage centers are. These models are being trained by data that is being implemented in. So, there's the common thing, rubbish in, rubbish out. Are they being trained properly? There's a lot of evolution happening. So essentially what I want to say is it's very uncertain. So currently, I would say there's a lot of caution, and there isn't a one solution fits all. And I think a lot of people are taking just small steps at a time. So that's my take on this. And when it comes to cybersecurity, and especially a lot of the data from manufacturing, which is trade secrets by itself.
Yeah, no, thank you. Samel, what are you seeing, and what are you seeing coming as well?
Yeah, I think there are pros and cons in both. Private LLMs provide you full control. High security, it's under your control. It's compliance ready. You are doing it. You are training it. You are owning it. But the challenges are like higher costs. You need experts to do that, and then you also need to have the maintenance burden as well. It's not something that you have the nodes set it up for your network, and you have built that network, and then you are maintaining it. It's higher cost than that. Whereas the public LLMs, if you have the safeguard on it, they are easily accessible, scalable. You'll get the latest models, capabilities into it. You don't have to worry about the maintenance and those type of things as well. You'll get the best innovation into it, whatever is available for that. And then, but then again, the challenge is again with that as well, and that's where the cost is you need to. It's a risk of misconfiguration and vendor lock-in as well. So And so it's basically what we can say is there are a lot of Yanni was also talking about various standards that can be applied. For example, NIST has done the adversarial machine learning taxonomy and terminology of attacks and mitigation that highlights how model confidentiality reduces vulnerability to inversion and poisoning the attacks. So that's in 2023. Again, similar thing the European Union has done for the cybersecurity in that space in securing machine learning algorithms. And UK has also done, the UK National Cybersecurity Centre has also done the similar thing on that. So what we can say is like the adopting of LLMs in the privacy sensitive environment requires a risk-based approach. So the enterprises and government agencies are moving towards, like we can say, what we have seen is like a hybrid models. So it's the balancing the flexibility of public LLMs with the control of private deployments. Maybe that's a better approach. So the growing body of what we can say, the research and regulations are strongly supporting the we need to have technical safeguards, model isolation, and governance transparency as that's the basically foundation, which I think to secure the responsible AI deployment.
Oh, no. Sorry. Thank you, Samel. No, that's really interesting. I think a little bit of lost whose turn it is next. So I think I'll stay with Samel. So we think about AI doing predictive type operations, but what else can it do for manufacturing? Again, we talked about previously about predictive and prescriptive. So maybe something about that. But what can it do that's that's not just predictive maintenance? What else can we get from it?
We can do quite a lot. We can do quite a lot, not only predictive maintenance and not only the like maintenance type of tasks, or not only the type of tasks that require only the predictive maintenance. When I started, I said there are things that we can do with the AI, and on the production environment in the manufacturing. Those are for example, the accuracy. That is one of the question quite a lot in the large volume manufacturing. So and that is something that AI can also help. That was the topic in my PhD itself as well. How we can do in the large volume and in a very low volume and a large area type of structures. How we can make sure that we are very, very accurate. And that's a problem that for example, the aerospace is facing quite a lot in the aerospace manufacturing. So we can do quite a lot by using the AI in order to understand how we can accurately deploy those things. And and beyond predictive maintenance, we can do the predictive functions. So not only those things that is basically they can anticipate what will happen, enabling the proactive, for example, decision making. We can understand the demand forecasting, and that can only happen if we are basically collecting the data properly from our processes and then working on them and applying the models on them to understand what could be the demand forecast, and which we can see done quite a lot in the e-commerce type of organizations. It can also do the quality prediction, energy usage forecasting. I think we hinted that on previously as well, but also like production bottleneck prediction. So like AI can monitor the throughput and cycle time across machines or lines to anticipate slowdown before they can occur. And whereas the second part of your question was around prescriptive functions. So it's like AI, it's like prescriptive is like AI doesn't just predict, it suggests or executes the best course of action based on the data. So on that, we can say like process parameter tuning. So AI can recommend to adjust the machine settings. So it's like you can say active, we are doing the active learning. So we are in real time to maximum efficiency or quality. So you can have the feed rate, temperature according to that. It's like similar as like closed loop control with autonomous tuning systems. The example wise, like for example, autonomous robotics and AGV type of controls, in which we can prescribe the actions based on the real time perception and goals. And there are sort of other examples as well. We can do the root cause analysis, for example, on the decision support. So AI system basically analyzing multivariant data. So not only to identify an issue, but also explain its root cause and suggestion how to fix. So like what we can do is at the moment what we are seeing at the moment, at least in the research paradigm, is we are rapidly moving from reactive to proactive, and now towards autonomous, when combined the predictive and prospective analysis from a powerful decision-making model, and that basically enhance the efficiency in the production environments.
Cool. No, thank you very much for that. Paul, what do you think we can do with it?
Well, kind of similar to what Samil was saying, but I really like the low risk, not necessarily machine data approach to just using things like retrieval augmented generation to train some LLMs on the documentation, design intent of the machine, specifications, to be able to learn from the history of, like I mentioned before, faults and resolutions. In that experience or experiential AI, where people just start to ask natural questions. I think we've all experienced siloed information across our organizations, where there's pockets of information sitting in Excel spreadsheets, there's pockets of information sitting in CMMSs and MESs, and sometimes we've experienced it when we sit around a meeting table and we start asking about a problem that's existed on a machine, and someone says, "Oh, I had that problem 3 years ago. Oh, let me look at my notes and see how I fixed it." That might have been a week later or a month later, but being able to take that information and use it in LLMs, even if before we ever get to taking data from a machine, to actually have that type of historical, natural language, model and data available to ask questions about the processes. I think you get quick wins from those types of things, from even into training, and helping operators and technicians, give them direction. Even if we aren't in a fully prescriptive, environment where maybe we've gotten to the, using MCPs or something to or agentic AI to go out and do the next thing, but actually you probably get 80% of the way just by giving someone an environment where they can ask those questions of all of that data that's already there, to get them over that hump, where they have to do the next bit of work. And so to me, that's really a powerful area. And because it's not touching some of the machines and the processes specifically, it does in some instances make it a little bit easier from a regulatory perspective. So yeah, to me, that's a real strong area for AI in general in manufacturing right now.
Yeah, no, thank you. And then finally, Yanni, what do you do with it?
Yeah, so basically, I think we've covered it quite extensively. I think, very simple. One thing that we've not really talked about here is customer service. One very good example of, for example, where AI can immediately help an SME from an SME all the way to a big business is essentially by digitizing a lot of the information for customer service and customer experience. We could do predictive maintenance based on that. We could schedule the visit of an engineer to a specific site, especially with, for example, as you can imagine, Carlsberg Britvic, we've got a lot of, Pepsi dispensers, and we've got a lot of Aqua Libra, the brand that I work with, we've got a lot of engineers and we've got a lot of machines out there. So if we log and understand the load of the machine and how busy an office is, we could actually specifically book and request times where nobody visits the machine from historical data. Now, talking about that kind of, these are simple, just to be honest, simple, annoying problems. And then if we're looking at, customer experience, when you get an issue from a customer, having that, and I'm not talking about chatbot, but the chatbot's just the front face of this, having I would say a data structure behind that can easily identify if this is a problem that requires an engineer visit, or if this is a problem that requires some sort of troubleshooting from the customer on their end, is a very big helper. So those kind of things. Other issues that we find is obviously, formulation drift. If, for example, as the process is occurring, there's a formulation drift, typically what you would have is you would have an alert system saying, oh, this has happened, fix it. Okay, thank you very much. But now you've got, oh, this has happened. These are the standard approaches on how to correct it. And then a user comes in, an expert user comes in and corrects it. Now, the amazing thing about that is if you connect your own private LLM and you have digitized all of your processing manuals, you can actually start to create VR tools where a non-expert can come and start fix the machine using cool Ray-Ban glasses, where suddenly the correct parts light up, for example. So these are amazing things that AR is actually enabling from a day-to-day aspect. These are not, cool high-level things that typically a lot of people talk about, and these are not the evident things that you would think ChatGPT can solve. But by using it as an orchestrator, adapting solutions in real time and supporting and collaborating with operators, I think that's basically it, isn't it?
Yeah. No. No, thank you, Annie. It is thinking in a different way, isn't it, to come up with solutions we haven't thought of before. Yeah, it's really important. So we'll stay with you, Yanni, for this one, and we've got a couple of questions left, and we've got about 7 minutes, so I think we're right on time, really. And the last two are really based on SMEs, which is really important for our membership, but also for the wide part of the UK industry as well. But what's the simplest way that an SME can dip their toes into AI within their manufacturing production lines?
I think, again, I'm assuming the SME has no, a prior knowledge to this. Basically, load the Excel sheet of some sort of production log into a GPT. For example, I don't know if I can drop names, but Claude, for example, which is really good because it's got really good manufacturing guardrails as well, and ethical guardrails. Load it and generate or engineer a prompt that gives you some sort of pattern recognition towards a certain KPI. Simple, like literally step one. And that is a step one that, big businesses start off with. So looking at SMEs, essentially, that would be the first step. I would also look at digitizing a lot of the analog data that is held. That is also something that I would say it's not really AI application, but it's one step towards AI. Then I would looking at, as Paul mentioned as well, and Samil explained quite deeply, is looking at key sensors within the manufacturing line, those key sensors to be replaced with some sort of IoT device or a sensor that generates the data that can be linked in to those production logs. So essentially, identify a sensor that is critical for an annoying problem. Those are essentially little key steps that you can take. As an SME, and knowing that we've got 5 minutes left, I don't want to take it, any more. I'll give the opportunity for other speakers as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. So, Paul.
Took a second to get off mute there. Yeah, I mean, kind of more or less what Yanni has said. For me, those first steps, start small, pick a problem, iterate on that problem, and develop up from there. But there are things in I suppose in my world which are gaining a little bit more traction in terms of standardization of data structures, and you slowly start to see people talk about the adoption of ontology standards so that they're kind of more universally applicable across manufacturing, so that people understand the various machines and their attributes and how they all relate together. It's almost priming the data, for the use in AI later on. When we have a semantic model of a machine, it makes it a lot easier to understand the parts of that machine. So really starting to look at the data structures, I think, is another kind of area for priming for the future of AI, rather than just doing AI for the sake of it right now.
Yeah. No, thanks. And then Simel.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. Like, don't use AI just for the sake of AI. Find out the problem, and then sit with an expert of AI and try to understand whether AI would be good for that. I think simplest way for an SME to explore the AI, and I'm thinking of manufacturing production line, is basically to begin with very small and well-defined pilot project, rather than attempting to overhaul the complete existing system. So identify a single use case that AI can deliver with a measurable value. So I think, and the other thing is, there are a lot of SMEs. They are already collecting the data through sensors, and make sure that those are IoT enabled, and also the machines or the ERP system, whatever they are using, using off-the-shelf AI tools or low-code platforms that they can experiment without really heavy investment in the infrastructure or specialized talent. But it's also important that we have hinted before as well, that to involve the frontline operators from the very beginning, and making a culture, and that will make the cultural shift or cultural change as well, because their insights will be very important in the adoption and the critical use of the success. Because if you don't involve the experts who can do the manual work, it's very difficult to basically understand what will be the successful measures to do it through the artificial intelligence or even the automation itself as well.
I agree. Taking out of the engineers and the experts' heads and getting it in is vitally important. So 30 seconds on this last question each, please. So really snappy. Just the question is, and we're going to start with Paul. What are the common mistakes that SMEs make? I think we might have covered most of them, but just what are the ones that you see most when considering or starting out with AI?
Quite simply, just trying to do it all on your own from the get-go. There are research partners, there are industry partners that are there to help and willing to work with you when you've identified that first focus area.
I echo that. I think that's really important. So Yanni, quick.
Again, we've covered it all, and I would say the biggest challenge is, do not treat this as an IT gimmick, as an IT hype. It's as much as an IT solution as it is an engineering solution. And in the context of manufacturing, go to the engineers first and build it from there. Do not start going to IT and OT, because it just, you miss the point.
No, that's really good advice. No, thank you, Yanni. And Simel, finally.
Yeah, experts are important. So experts who are working with you are very important. They have wealth of knowledge. And one thing that's not, highlighting that the mistakes they're making is basically how they can keep it low cost is a collaboration with universities, digital innovation hubs, or AI consultants. There's so much help out there. They can also help reduce the cost and accelerate the learning.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's really good. Thank you to all. Has anybody got anything that they want to add from today, like their biggest takeaway, the one thing that they always say when talking about AI? Has anybody got anything else to add, finally?
I think just being clear about your KPIs, being clear about your outcomes, and don't fall into that proof of principle, never-ending cycle where there's no real defined outcomes. Really, challenge those outcomes and those needs before you start getting into it, so that you have a clear strategy for what defines success.
Yeah, no, I've come across that when companies keep doing pilot projects. Stop doing a pilot project, just do it.
Pilot purgatory.
Yeah, exactly. Yanni, you jumped up then.
Yeah, I think, the going back to the cultural adoption issues, I'd say, AI is not a threat. AI is not, AI used to be a tool, but now it's moving towards being a collaborator. And I think treating it as a collaborator and treating it as an opportunity to from the inside, upskill a lot of the workforce is a very good optic and a very good angle to tackle this challenge. And this is the most common thing that I usually say when I'm talking about AI to relevant people.
Cool, thank you. And Samel?
Yeah, and well said, Yanni and Paul. And what I will add to it is basically focus on one practical goal, measure the outcome clearly, and basically iterate on the feedback. So, and there's no way that SME can't build the internal confidence and skills based on through this approach.
Oh, great. No, thank you. Thank you to you all for today. It's been really, really interesting listening to you. You got some really, really great points. Hopefully the audience have got some take homes from today, and it allows them to move forward. There's some good little bits of advice in there as well. So if you have any questions, please pop them into the Q&A section if you've got any left from today, or you can also send them to Automate UK, and we can forward them on or add them to our rewind section. So yeah, all I've got to say is thank you very much. Thank you for your time this afternoon. And if anybody's got anything and they want to reach out, then please do. Please come to Automate and we can put you in contact with the right people. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.